We got a lot to cover today, only in 30 minutes, and there's a lot of breaking news in the NBA right now. But before we get started, I want to tell you guys about a couple of sponsors for today's video. The first one has been with us from the beginning, and that is Amazon. And we talk about a lot of books and personal development, getting things together and getting your mind right and things like that. Because of that, we chose that it was best to position ourselves with Amazon, a company that has books, offer books, and ships great books to the market. Two is a groundbreaking new app called Rueblur, which is actually one of the first Black-owned social media networking companies. And this one is huge, guys. We don't come to you guys with any BS. Rueblur is an app where liberation meets inspiration. Rueblur's mission is to make social media fun again. Rate, react, and control your feed by following the most prolific rate and reactors. They want to create a safe environment, and they want you to be able to customize and control your own feed. Their mission is to continue to expand and develop Rueblur into a preeminent social media platform that allows users to tailor their profiles to their content desires, while also providing a platform where businesses, influencers, content creators can promote their ideas, cultivate creativity, share news, articles, information, and more. Now, if you don't have that currently because you don't know anybody that has the app, then you're going to have to be on the wait list. But because we're partnering with them, we actually are on the app ourselves, and we can show you guys firsthand some of the content that's already on there. You can see the quality of videos, not to mention as well the accounts, how many accounts you can create for you to share fun, creative ideas that you guys may have. You can control your feed. They have reels. Very, very solid. Without further ado, let's get into today's video, which is going to be all NBA. There's a lot of urgent news going on in the NBA right now, and we're going to kick it off with Bronny joins LeBron in LA. LeBron also resigns with the Lakers. JJ Redick is hired as the head coach. Dennis, I'm going to kick it off to you, man. What are your thoughts, and how do you feel next season will play out for the Lakers?
That's a tough question, honestly. I don't know how the season plays out, but because you still got AD and Bron, so and
Yeah.
I feel like the league, in my opinion, got weaker in the sense that there are no super teams really, except for maybe Philly.
Yeah.
But outside of Philly, it's just a bunch of duos, you
Hmm.
know. Philly and kind of Boston. There's a bunch of duos, mostly in the West, and there's still moves to be made. There's still, high value free agents still out there. LA is just not a destination for a lot of guys right now. So,
Mm.
I mean, they kind of running it back, which if that's the case, then yeah, their season's looking the same. But
Hmm.
the exciting part is they have Bronny, so it's really more so about does he get minutes? Does he go to the G League? You know, how does that all play out?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
did get a really good draft pick in Dalton Connect, who's going to help space that floor. When it comes to those threes, if it's white is right, you know,
Right. Right.
that boy can shoot. That
Yeah.
boy can
Yeah.
shoot. You know what I'm saying? Dalton can shoot.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think it'll be a fun year for Bron.
Mm,
Just knowing he got his son and everything else in like the day-to-day grind, you know, just think about it. It's like bring your kid to work day, but for the whole year, you
right,
know.
right, right.
Like so, you might get a rejuvenated energy out of LeBron, which could be nice. Which could be nice. But I hope they get DeRozan or somebody though, just to
Mm,
add a true score, you know.
yeah.
D'Lo hasn't lived up to that role consistently. He does it. He definitely does it, but just not consistently.
Mm.
So, I mean, we'll see what's to come with them. What do you think?
Man, I think this says more about LeBron than it does about I think it says more about LeBron than it does about the Lakers really as a whole. I mean, starting a podcast with JJ Redick and then taking that and getting that to the point where now JJ is a head coach. His son comes in, joins the roster. I mean, first off, father of the year. And I just feel like he's it says more about his ability to control things around him than it does about anything else. I mean, based on the roster that they have, just the fact that LeBron is on there, you give them high hopes for next year. Obviously, you expect them to make the playoffs and things of that nature, but it just feels a little bit like, to me, this is more about LeBron ending his career better than some of the other players that came before him than it does necessarily about how next season really plays out, because it's a win for LeBron either way. You know what I'm saying? Like, if next season is completely appalling, you know what I mean? Then he'll be able to say that his son was able to join the team. JJ Redick's the head coach, meaning that if Bronny does get minutes and he does be able to play, it's somebody, he's going to be coached by somebody that's close to LeBron. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I think that no matter how much people may try and hate on the situation and say this is unfair, this is that, a father like yourself, I'm sure you can understand, like, hey man, if I had the opportunity to put my son in the best position possible, you know what I'm saying, win, lose, or draw, then that was a win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but with that, man, I'm gonna go ahead and switch over to Philly. Paul George goes to Philly, gets the max, and unites with Embiid and Maxey. Do you think this will help Philly get over the hump?
No. No. Not at all. I
Yeah.
mean, what? Yeah, think about it, man. Paul George has been the headline of the offseason. I think this is like the third or fourth time. I mean, how many times you got to read a book to get it? You
Mm,
know,
mm,
he, at the end of the day, he doesn't put anyone over the hump. You know, I think he would be a nice piece. You know, like let's say instead of Porzingis, it was George. Probably goes the same way. You know, hell, let's say instead of Drew Holiday, it was Paul George. Probably goes the same way. Just because he is a good piece, but he is not a take you over the edge
mm.
kind of player these days. He can take the Clippers over the edge, OKC over the edge. You know, obviously he was very close with Indiana, but he hasn't been the same since that gruesome injury in the Olympics.
True, true.
Um, I mean, man, he's really just another Harden,
Mm,
you know?
mm,
He's just another Harden, which ironically Embiid kind of falls in that circle of guys too. Like, oh, I could play
mm-hmm.
good enough to get an MVP, but don't ask me about anything beyond the second round of the playoffs.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
they just not, you know, I'm not sold on it. The only thing that gives me hope for them is Maxey, you know,
Mm.
because you have a guy. Like Maxey to me is a guy,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know. I can see Maxey taking big clutch shots. I can see Maxey having huge games for them. Maybe not year one with Paul George because Maxey is with him being the youngest and everything's probably still in his mind to, you know, be a team guy. But then
Mm-hmm.
again, he did get his 212 million or 202 million, something like that.
Yeah.
So, you know, maybe Maxey, you know, hey, my check, you know, my check come like your check, big.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure he
So
will, especially after last year's playoff performance.
that's what I mean, you know. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I
Yeah.
could see it. Long if it's Maxey led, I could see it. You
Yeah.
know, but if it comes down to what Embiid or George is going to give you, you know, I don't see it.
Yeah.
It's just realistically.
I'll say this much, man. I feel like for me, injuries is my biggest concern for Philly. I feel like and honestly the sad part is I kind of feel like this is a trend in the East. We see a lot of good teams put together, you know what I mean? But they never make it all the way through the playoffs. They usually crumble before they reach the finish line. We saw it happen last year with Dame and Giannis on the Bucks. If you go back to recent years, you can say the same thing about the Nets. I mean, they were together 2 or 3 years and only played 11 games or something like that together. You saw it last year with the Knicks. I mean, just completely ran themselves into the ground. And you see this amongst the East like way, way too much. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like a lot of good to great teams, you know what I'm saying, are actually put together, but they never can, be healthy enough to make it through the playoffs. Now, I think if they are healthy and they are 100%, they are a bit of a problem. Obviously, Embiid being as dominant as he is, Maxey stepping up to the plate, and Paul George is giving you Paul George numbers, assuming he doesn't crumble in the playoffs mentally and start to have OKC flashbacks and only put up 5 points in a game. And, if he doesn't do any of that, I see some good things happening for Philly in that regard. But I think man, after Paul George had kind of made this statement that he didn't feel like he was a number one option, it kind of put a bad taste in my mouth a little bit about him as a player, because going to a place like Philly, one, that crowd is they're not nice people. You know what I'm saying? Like, they'll dog walk their star if he's having a bad game. You know what I mean? So you got to
Yeah,
mentally be there in a place like Philly. And then two, as well, man, adding to that, you don't feel like you're a number one option. Well, recent years have shown us that Embiid probably won't make it to 100% in the playoffs, more than likely. You know what I'm saying? I have high hopes, and I really hope he does. And I believe when he does be 100% in the playoffs, they really have a chance to run through anybody. But until that day comes, Paul George, and even though Maxey is where he's at, Paul George, they're expecting you to be a predominant scorer there. You know what I'm saying? If we ask question right now, do you feel like Maxey is better than Paul George? The answer is probably no. Like, you probably wouldn't even have to think about it. You know what I'm saying? So if that's not the case, and there's a high likelihood that Embiid may not be healthy in the playoffs, Paul George, you're gonna have to step up. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
You're gonna have to
yeah.
step up. But with that, man, transitioning over to Chris Paul going to San Antonio, and what I feel could be actually the best offseason move of anybody that we've listed so far, anybody we will go on to list. How do you feel Wemby's game will benefit from having a veteran and teammate like CP3 as his teammate?
Uh, Two things. One, I want to say that I feel as though DeJounte Murray going to the Pelicans was bigger than Paul George going to the Sixers.
Mm.
Then to Chris Paul, I definitely believe Chris Paul will have quite possibly the biggest offseason impact when you just add in percentage from going. I think they only won like 17 games or something. Like, it wasn't much more than the Pistons, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
So if you ask me, man, I think Chris Paul puts them into the play-in, literally.
Wow. Wow.
And I think, I don't know if you saw the photos, but Wemby, he's already having his Giannis moment, where it's
Yeah.
like you didn't doubled in size. It looked like, just in muscular, you know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you add that into his game, like, all right, he don't lose his handle. He still has his shot. I mean, Wemby is just unimaginable.
Yeah, yeah.
People say he's like a creative player. Like, I wouldn't even create a player like that, though.
Not at all.
You know what I'm saying?
Not at
Like,
all.
7'6", but it's just like, that's just like a unfair,
It
you
is.
know.
Did you see the,
Yeah,
the the
that's like,
Derek White move where he just put the ball over Derek White if he was going for the dunk when in transition?
man,
Yeah,
like, come on. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, Wemby's just unfair, and adding Chris Paul, I feel like will help them game manage. You know,
wow, yeah,
um, because now you got, Chris Paul's going to slow that pace down. He's going to, and I assume he's starting. I don't think he's there to come off the bench for them, in my personal opinion. Um,
I
I'm
doubt it.
assuming
I
he's
doubt it. I
starting.
doubt it.
Yeah, because that was only for the Warriors, because you're behind Curry. You're
Yeah,
not going to sit behind Nick Van Exel, you know. Um,
facts, facts, facts.
now, I will say I do also believe that he's going to be a big benefit for the guards over there.
Yeah,
You know, hey, this is how we control the pace. This is how you get into your sets. This is how you know, just get the game in your favor, in your
hmm,
favor.
yeah,
So at the end of the day, like I said, I think Chris Paul will have the biggest impact on winning. As
yeah,
far as the off season moves, and I say Murray second, um,
mm,
and probably Paul George third. Paul George and Klay probably tied, honestly.
mm,
Um,
mm.
and there's still moves to be made, like I said before. You know, you still got, I think
Yeah.
DeRozan's out there. They're trying to shop Levine. I know they're shopping Lonzo too. You know, Lonzo,
Mm.
you know,
Yeah,
shout
yeah.
out to Lonzo, you know what I'm saying, about to make his comeback this year
He
after
deserves it.
being off for 2 years, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
With a rare knee injury. So
yeah.
shout out to him. Just want to say that. Um,
Yeah, and I'll say this much before we even talk about all of the other offseason moves, just about CP3 real quick. We had a conversation over the phone, and I was like, man, we were laughing hysterically because we're like, man, do you remember what CP3 did in OKC when they had kind of shipped him over there to relatively die? You know what I'm saying? Next thing you know, he has SGA and Dennis Schroeder looking like the top team in the West. You know what I'm saying? So I expect some serious, serious improvement, not only to Wemby's game, but to the San Antonio Spurs too as a whole. You know what I mean? Like I truly, really am expecting him to really have a high impact on that team in such a vet way too. And Wemby's so young, man. The knowledge and game he's going to soak up this season, you know, will be monumental to his career. And that's kind of why I said I look at this as one of the best offseason moves, if not the best offseason move, because of what it will do not only in the short term for Wemby and San Antonio, but in the long term for Wemby's career. Not to mention we also get to see CP3 with Pop. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I'm expecting a whole lot of improvement in San Antonio. No, I don't think he's starting off the bench. And CP3 is showing one thing consistently in his career. Whatever team he goes to, and no matter what age he's joined that team, they have a shot. Somehow, some way, they just get an opportunity to make it to the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, yeah.
I'm looking big
Hey,
forward to
even the Warriors won more games than the previous season without Chris Paul.
absolutely,
You know
absolutely.
what I'm saying? So every team he's been on has had an increase in wins. So yeah, you know, I've heard a lot of ESPN people say this is him making prepping himself for coaching.
Mm,
Um, you know, I think people forget how rich these guys are.
true,
I don't think you're
true.
about to see a whole bunch of these guys turning to coaches. You know,
Well, CP3 is
um,
more than just a player. He's also a leader, you know what I'm saying, amongst the NBA as a whole. You know what I mean? Which kind of helps,
literally,
which is why they kind of probably say, you know, he could coach or something like that. But they say Bron should coach. They say Kobe should coach. Like they kind of say that amongst anybody that you know what I'm saying, that's to their caliber of
yeah,
IQ in the game of basketball. But to your point, man, not only just the Warriors, go back to the Suns, man. He goes to the Suns without KD, and just him, Aiton, and Booker, and they go up two in the NBA Finals. You know what I'm saying? Ultimately, before losing a 4-2 series. But even then, if you go back and look at that, I mean, Scott Foster was then put on to the coaching staff in that finals, which could have had a major impact to CP3's game, and it sort of looked that way. CP3 didn't look the same after that. And that's why people say the NBA is rigged, but that's neither here nor there. Transitioning to Harden resigns with the Clippers, man. What's your take on that?
I I don't care.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
the Clippers, bro. It's the Clippers, man.
We're in
I
agreement
don't care.
there.
It wasn't a 270. Like
Yeah, yeah,
you know.
yeah.
I think the Clippers blew it, letting Paul George go
Explain that.
completely.
Talk about that.
Well, truth is, he put y'all back on the map. You know,
Facts.
like
Facts.
all the memorable moments of Clippers history, the past 3-4 years,
Mm-hmm.
they're Kawhi being injured and Paul George balling. You
Facts.
know, when he had
Facts.
that
Facts.
run where
Facts.
he barely lost he beat the Mavs.
Yeah.
He won like what was the last 2 or 3 games without Kawhi, and
Mm-hmm.
then they lost. I forgot who they lost to. I want to say like the Warriors or somebody like that, or it was the Suns. It was the
Mm.
year the Suns went to the finals. You know, Paul George gave everybody hell.
Yeah, he
You
did.
know,
He did. I remember that. He made it to the
so
Western Conference Finals, if I'm not mistaken, right?
yeah, yeah, that was West Conference Finals. You know,
Yeah.
um, yeah, but Kawhi is obviously the most important piece there. I just didn't see the point of signing Harden and not Paul George.
I think it's the
You
Clippers,
know,
bro.
I'd
It's
rather had let Harden walk and kept Paul George. But it's also that second apron. That's what's
That's
causing
true.
a lot of teams trouble right now. They don't want to deal with the stipulations that come with being in the second apron.
Facts.
That's why you see now, and that's why I said to me the league got weaker in a good way, as in, hey, you can't have Curry, Clay, and Draymond. Pick two. You
Facts.
can't have Kawhi, Harden, and Paul George. Pick two.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But
Like
you know
you're
why?
gonna
It's
have
because of
to.
the NBA Finals. The problem is exactly what just happened in the last finals that we just had between Boston and Dallas is the same thing that's kind of happened over since KD teamed up with the Warriors. It's really been no like monumental finals moments. It's no, oh my God, this is gonna be a game 7 series. Like, oh my God, like there's none of that because teams are either overpowered, they had too much than what the other team had, and it's just not interesting. People don't want to watch that. Like this finals was hard to watch, and Boston put together the most dominant team without using the biggest of biggest name stars that you could do, right? So they did it right, but still, it was like not fun to watch. Like we didn't have a podcast talking about it. I wouldn't have watched it after game 1 or 2. Like I wouldn't have watched it.
Yeah, yeah.
You
So
know what
yeah,
I'm
I ain't gonna
saying?
disagree. Yeah, no, I can't disagree with that honestly.
And here's something I do
So
want to go to as well, since we just brought up Boston, is Jason Tatum gets the max. What's your projections for Boston next year?
next year,
Yeah.
uh, they're probably right back. You know, right back in the mix. I'm not gonna say they're going right back to the finals because
Hmm.
they still have to get through Milwaukee, and you know, all things fair. I played with Milwaukee versus the Sixers on 2K with my nephew yesterday,
Yeah,
and man, it just I'll just
yeah,
put it out. I'll put it like this, man. Dame had 30, Giannis had 30 and 10. It was like, man,
yeah.
like
Yeah,
if
yeah,
Milwaukee, because I wonder what they think about that second apron being a small market team. Does Chris Middleton end up staying there? Does Brook Lopez end up staying there?
yeah.
Are they going to look to move those guys? You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
and get a little bit lesser value type guys.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's some questions there, but because then I still wonder about Boston. Like Derek White got 100 and some million. Drew
hmm,
Holiday has 100 and some million. Brown and Tatum got like 3 balls,
yeah, yeah,
and you still gave what's his name, Porzingis?
yeah,
What it was high.
yeah.
It
With
was
some
high.
money. Hmm.
It wasn't in the hundreds, but it was like just before.
Yeah, yeah,
So Boston. I think Boston's like primed to make one more run at it.
yeah,
Um, we'll see how the season goes because with Porzingis and stuff, and with the leg injury and all that.
yeah,
So we'll
yeah,
see how that all ends up working out. You know,
yeah. Hmm.
but ultimately, I don't think Boston's just set up.
Yeah, yeah,
They're set up, but I think the Bucks will give them a run for their money. Um, if
yeah.
Miami's healthy, at the end of the day, I could care less who you have on your squad. A healthy Miami just does things that don't make sense.
Facts.
Um, I'm not even. I
Big
can't put Philly
facts.
in there. I just
Well,
can't put
it's
Philly
their
in
health,
there.
man. I told you, bro, it's their health. You don't even
No,
see it. You don't even see it
it's
being
their health,
together.
but a part of me wants to say Philly still too because it's also Paul George in the East and not the West. You know,
Yeah, I know what you
so
mean.
I got to see the first year of it, but Paul George in the East is a problem. All right,
Yeah,
but that
yeah,
was a long time ago.
yeah.
You
Big
know,
facts.
that
Big
was a
facts.
long time ago. So we'll
Big
see
facts.
what that looks like now. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
but yeah, we'll see what that ends up looking like. And
yeah,
maybe he
man.
comes with a chip on his shoulder, but I don't know. You can't really call it just yet. But
Facts. Facts. I agree with you, man. I think Boston's definitely trying to make 1 or 2 more runs at it, to be completely honest with you. That's definitely what they're running off. They're probably trying to hang their 20th banner at this point. At least I would imagine. You know what I mean? I mean, it makes the most sense. And they have one of the most dominant teams. And I love Dame and with Giannis and on the Bucks, and I really hope they're all healthy 100%. They would definitely give any team a run for their money, East or West. But just knowing that Boston has not only the chemistry but also the confidence now after winning the this last championship, I
Yeah.
think more than likely, man, they could run up. They're gonna be a problem. And I think next year, if anything, what you would kind of be looking at or kind of looking forward is how they kind of go through the East a little bit. But I'm not looking at Philly as like competition necessarily. The only team I'm looking at truly as competition is Dame and Giannis and Jimmy. Other than that, I'm
Yeah.
really not looking at anybody else as competition. You know, not the Knicks. I think the Knicks are great, even though you just got Mikal Bridges. I know we haven't talked about that yet, but they got Mikal Bridges and they're putting together their own squad and the Pacers and Halliburton but still
The
they're
Knicks
too
might be a problem. The
they
Knicks
could be,
might be
but
a
the
problem.
problem for me is like they don't one, they didn't
It
make it
depends
through.
when you get them.
They didn't make it through this last like you said, it depends on when you get them. Their engine only goes so far with how many minutes they all play and what they have to do. You know what I'm saying? Like it is a very much an all heart team. And I don't mean Josh Hart, I mean all heart, like heart. It's an all heart team. And their coach will play them for 48 minutes if need be,
Yeah,
back to
but
back games. And yes, they're a problem,
Hart,
but I do want to touch just Boston. I do believe that out of all the teams in the East, they are primed to win at least one or two more. The only teams I really see as a problem is the Bucks and the Heat. I don't believe Philly injury wise. I just don't believe they'll be there in the playoffs 100% healthy. Like you said, Paul George is a problem in the East, but for a guy who says he's not the number one option, anybody who you go against who has a stronger mentality than you do, I take them over you because you said a statement like that. And what happens if you have to see Indiana and they start throwing up, you're not number one option and you were a has been, what you gonna do? Crumble?
no one cares.
You know what I'm saying? So
Indiana's gonna get smacked.
you know what I mean? So it's like I just don't necessarily feel like it really, I just don't necessarily see really Boston having too much issues. And the biggest reason why is their chemistry and their confidence. They're gonna be a problem for whoever they face in the East. The only team I really see the Heat and the Bucks. And I'm not gonna be a broken record here, so I'm gonna pass it to you. Um, and you can kind of talk if you want to talk about what you were just saying with how you felt about those teams.
Well, the Bucks for sure, because I feel as though they're just as much of a problem when healthy as the Celtics, because you got Dame and Giannis.
Facts.
You
And
still have Chris
Middleton.
Middleton there too. Yeah, you still have Chris Middleton, which let me say, I mean, according to 2K, he a problem.
And not only that,
But
he got them their last win when Dame was out. And when
you
Dame
know what I'm
came back, they
saying?
took him, it was like OT. Like he
Yeah,
was
they
putting up,
did. They
yeah,
did. They did. So yeah, you make that team healthy. They still are being coached by Doc. I'm not a fan of that,
me neither.
but that's still Dame and Giannis. So however you look at it, that's still Dame and Giannis.
Facts.
Um,
Facts.
then to the Knicks, I just want to say this about them. Your point is valid, but where I contest with you
Mm-hmm.
is Josh Hart and Dante DeVizio are not going to be playing 48 minutes.
Not anymore. You're right.
You know what I'm saying? Not if everybody's healthy.
True. True.
Not in a healthy playoff run. A healthy playoff run, they're coming off the bench. Both of them.
Facts. Facts.
You gotta think, what is it gonna go? What Brunson at the one?
Mm-hmm.
And then you gotta decide maybe you still start Dante, the two.
Yeah.
Then you got Mikal, and you got Julius Randle, and you got Mitchell Robinson.
Yeah. Problem.
You know, you know what I'm saying?
Facts. Facts.
It's giving 04 Pistons. It's
A
really
little, yeah.
giving 04 Pistons. You know what I'm saying?
A little
Um,
bit. And I want to say this for the record. The last team you said that gave you or for Pistons won the finals. And that was the Boston Celtics versus the Mavs. When everybody was hyped up about the Mavs, you said Boston reminds you of the '04 Pistons. So I want to give you props for that. And just for the record, you said the Knicks remind you of the '04 Pistons. So if they win this year, which is highly unlikely, but they could, based on what you're saying.
Yeah,
You
because I mean,
said
like,
it.
you don't know who's gonna be healthy in the playoffs.
Facts. What if
You
Tatum
know what I'm
gets injured?
saying?
What if
Tatum breaks a leg, it's over. You know what I'm saying? It's over.
Facts,
You
facts.
know, Jaylen Brown goes down, it's done. You know, yeah, they can survive without Porzingis or Drew or even Derek White, but they can't survive without Tatum or Brown. That's for sure. So
Yeah,
those guys still got to be healthy no matter what, you know,
facts.
to make a difference. The Knicks guys got to be healthy. You know,
True.
I would not be against the Knicks making a Randall for a Brandon Ingram trade. You know, because don't forget
Yeah.
Ingram is still being shopped around. It's a few different teams that I feel as though you add Ingram, and
Yeah.
may propel them. Um, so,
True.
like I
True.
said, you know, the offseason ain't even over yet. You
It's
know, still
definitely
moves to
not.
be made. I do look forward to Summer League, which is coming up
Yeah.
soon. I
If
just
you don't
want,
mind me
I
saying
love,
this real quick with the final 3 minutes, Klay going to Dallas. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think that's important? Do you think that's not important?
I don't think it moves the needle.
Mm,
I don't think it moves the needle.
mm,
Um, I think it helps them. I think it helps them solidify themselves as potentially repeating, you
mm.
know, by going back. However, I mean, you watched Klay like I watched Klay last year. Unless Klay is about to come out with a chip that's like
Unless he took out a time machine.
world beating, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know, like it's I don't see it doing anything big enough in the
Yeah.
West. You know, big enough in the West. What do you think?
My question more so, and when I got the word that this was a thing, if I'm being completely honest with you, like the first question I had aside from my own personal thoughts on it was just like, how do you feel about the Dubs legacy? You know what I'm saying? Like when I got the
Yeah,
word
it's
that
beautiful.
when I got word that Klay was like going to Dallas, I was like, well, it's not that, like you said, it doesn't move the needle. I don't feel like it moves the needle like in any way, shape, or form. It was just like, wow, no more Curry and Klay, no more Splash Brothers. Like random YouTube videos started coming across my feed of like, you know what I'm saying, Klay with Curry and all that. And I think I was on Rueblur when I was seeing the when they were both in the All-Star game, like the little like tunt Curry had did after he got the N1 call on Klay. And I'm like, are we about to get that? Is that what we're about to get now in the West a couple times out the years? These two going back at it because you know they're gonna guard each other. It's like a whole thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Um, but more so, I kind of felt a little bit like we'll see kind of the way Luka and Kyrie utilizes Klay and the way Dallas utilizes Klay in their offense and defensive schemes. I'm sure he'll probably come off the bench more than likely, which won't be too bad because he'll probably be playing with one or the other, Kyrie or Luka, out there, and he'll kind of be their 3 and D guy, I guess. You know what I mean? I mean, if we go back and look at the finals, would you rather have PJ Washington taking that three or Klay Thompson taking that three, make or miss? Now, I'd rather see Klay out there taking that three, make or miss. You know what I'm saying? Like it'll give me a little bit more confidence. There was some moments, and Derrick Jones was out there heaving up threes in that final series. I'm like, it's not going in, bro. Like you don't even have the experience here of being here. You know what I'm saying? Like you're in the corner, like no confidence whatsoever. You know what I
yeah,
mean? But man, with the
yeah. Well, I
final,
hope they run their offense a little differently this time.
well,
But
they're gonna have to. Yep.
before we go, I just want to say once again, man, check out Rueblur. You know, I call it the Rue. It is an awesome platform. It is, you know, black owned, made by, you know, a person that we both know personally. So just check it out. Download the app. You can go to Rueblur Instagram and click right onto the link to get the app. If you look it up in the store, it may pop up, it may not. For me, it didn't pop up, but I was able to get it right through the link.
Yep.
Um, you know, let's just be honest, you know, it is you know, it's not too many of these types of platforms that you get with a black man behind the scenes like that. So
Facts.
if you can support, give it a shot. Go check it out. Get out of the algorithm and get into your algorithm.
Facts, facts. And when you do make it over there, go ahead and give us a follow and tell us if you came from this video, either Immanuel Driskell, UW Media, or Unwarranted Podcast. And with that, thank you guys for watching. D, this was a phenomenal video. I can't wait to do this again, man. There's so many moves happening, and I definitely can't wait to talk about football. But you already know, man. See you on the next one.
Yes, sir.